Hello everyone, I'm a tutor with UPlats and today we are going to start with a few more numerical functions. In our previous lecture, we talked about the absolute function, ceiling, floor, round function. Today we are going to continue with truncate function. Now this truncate is not similar to what we had discussed in our previous DDL commands. So as you must be knowing, to brush you up with the round function, what it does is select round off, let's say 130.2. So it will give me the floor value. If I do 130.5, then it will give me the ceiling value. Okay, now this was the job of a round function. Okay, and now if I specify some decimal point here, let's say 3. Okay, and I have some numbers here. So what it will do is it will give me 3 decimal functions, 3 decimal numbers, that is 599. And for the third one, you can see that since it is greater than 5, it has converted it to 0.599. Okay, now similarly, if let's say I have this as 4, now it will not convert it to the upper bound, but it will give me the result 130.598. Okay, because the fourth number, that is the number next to the third number, is less than 5. So that is what round was doing. Now we simply want to just remove these extra numbers from the decimal number that we have, decimal value that we have, and we don't want to round it off. So what I do is, instead of this, I'll simply use truncate command. It will truncate the remaining numbers 498. It will give me the 3 values after decimal point as it is. So even if I change this value 4 to something greater than 5, it will still give me the same number 130.598. So that is what truncate does. It truncates a number to the specified number of decimal places without rounding off. So if you want to demonstrate it more, if I even write this down, 99999, okay. Now this possibly should have, if we use a round function without any number specified, then it will give me 131. With number 3 specified, it will give me 131, okay. And with truncate, it will simply remove the extra 9s and give me 130.999. That is what the truncate does. Moving on to next, we have is the exponential function. It returns the e raised to power of the specified number. So you must be knowing that we have this exponential values we need to find out for some mathematical reasons, right? So the easiest one is the exponential one, because that's the only value I remember. Otherwise we need to refer to the chart that has been made to find out the value. So if I do exponential 1, this is the value that I get. Similarly, you can give any number of values. Let's say I want to find out exponential 2, that or 4, e raised to 4. So this is the value that I get. Okay, we can refer to the chart and verify whether these numbers are correct or not. Ideally, this is correct because this function is designed to work that way. It has taken all the values from that exponential chart, and based on whatever value we give as an input, it retrieves the value. So that was exponential function for you. Now similar to exponential function, we have many other logarithmic function such as a cos, a sine, cot function, cos function. You can go and try out those functions to find out that what exactly do we get. In all these trigonometric functions of SQL, we get the degree value from radian. If radian is specified, we get the degree value. So you can very well go ahead and try it out. We also have logarithmic function, and by logarithmic function there are two bases that are available: logarithmic to the base 2 and logarithmic to the base 10. So those are also available. And to verify the answers, you can go and check the chart, logarithmic chart that is available on Google. So these are the functions. How to write them, I can give you one glance of it. Now this is logarithmic to the base 2. If I write 6 here, I get this value. You can verify this value with the chart that is present in the main site. Okay, for logarithmic to the base 10, I have to write something like this. Okay. If you are not sure what is logarithmic function, that is still fine, because we are covering SQL function and we are not concentrating much on the mathematical definitions. So it is still fine if you're not exactly sure what is a logarithmic function. Next, moving on to, we have already discussed the min-max function. We have a mod function with us. Now what does mod function do is it returns the remainder of a number divided by another number. Okay, as good as if I select mod of value, let's say I pass 8 divided by 2. Now 8 is completely divisible by 2, so my remainder is 0. Okay, 9 is not divisible by 2, remainder that I get is 1. 10 is divisible by 10 is divisible by 2, so I should get a remainder 0. Let me try 9 with 3. 9 is completely divisible by 3, so I get 0, which is the remainder while you're dividing. Okay, let's say 11 is not divisible by 3, so I get remainder 2. Okay, I hope how you know how to calculate remainders, because that you have already learned in very basic years of your scholastic years. So mod function is basically the remainder of two numbers. The number that you are supposed to divide, or what we call is as a dividend, is mentioned in the first argument, and the number with which you have to divide it, that number is mentioned in the second argument. Don't swap this, because you might not get the expected answer if I do something like this. So I get 2, because 2 is not divisible by 8. Okay, so make sure that whatever input you are giving, you are very well understand what you're doing. It's basically, if you're writing A divided by B, then A has to be the first parameter, B has to be the second parameter for mod function. Next, moving on to, we have the power function. That is if you want to find out some squares or cubes or something. So let me demonstrate it to you. We have POW. Let's say I want to find out 2 cube, which is 8. I get the answer 8. That is what POW works as. 2 raised to 3. First argument is the value. Third argument is, second argument is the value raised over that number. So basically this is helping me to find out 2 raised to 3. If I want to find out 2 square, I can replace 3 with 2 and I get 2 raised to 2, that is 4. Okay. So that was POW function. Now this function is very much equal to the power function. Both these functions, power and POW, this returns the value of a number raised to the power of another number. Okay, so now let me demonstrate power also to you guys. It is simply POWER. As I told, that POW and POWER both are the same functions. Okay, both of them will eventually give the same result. Next we have is round function. We have already discussed. Now the square and cubes we have seen. What if we want to find out the square root? We also have that function inbuilt in our 16 in my SQL. So let's say I want to find out the square root of 16. I get 4. I simply have to pass sqrt, the number for which I have to find the square root. Okay, this function simply returns the square root of a number. Try giving 4, you'll get 2. Try giving 64, you'll get 8. Try giving 49, you get 7. Okay, so that was sqrt function for you. And here we have finished our numeric functions. Now moving on to next is the date function. So till now we have covered some basic SQL queries. Then we covered some string functions which will be helpful for us to manipulate the data. Then we covered numeric functions which will be able to with which we'll be able to deal with the numeric values. Okay. Now this database, it actually comprises of 3 different data types. Majority of is 3 different data types. In that also we have different variations. Basic is a string value, a numeric value, or it could be a date function. Okay. These 3 are the root of the tree. In this root, we have many such branches of different data types. That's float, int, everything falls under numerical. So numerical is my root of the tree. Okay, so now we will try to cover up the date functions. Okay, now with date, let's start with how to find the current date. Okay, let's say I want to know what is the current date. I'll simply use this current date. This function is available with MySQL. If I do so, I get that today's date is 20th October 2020. Okay. Now there is one more function which is very similar to current date, that is cur date. So let me just change it to cur date. I get the same output. Okay. Basically, this function returns the current date, and the format that in which it is returning is YYY. Let me write it down. YYY hyphen MM hyphen GD. It is very important that you are well versed with the formats that are available in the date functions. It could be a small m, it could be capital D, whatsoever. Okay, that I'll walk you through in some time. Let's say I write something like this. This one. It gives me this format. Okay, so what it has done is it has basically taken off hyphen, and it has simply added one number to it. Okay, now what the internal calculation was, it converted this date into an integer format by removing the hyphen, and then it added +1 to it. So what it did was, it was 20th October initially. If I add +1 to it, I get 21. Okay, so that was the current date manipulations for you guys. Next is, let's say if I want to add some date. Okay, now we have that function available with us, add date. Okay, let's say I give the same number, 2020 is 10 and 20. Okay, sorry, select add date 20, 10, 20, comma. Let's say now the way to write or to add days is interval 10 days. Okay, not days, it is day. Okay, so I simply give this function. There are two parameters I need to pass. One is the date from which I want to add something, and then the number of intervals, that how many days I want to add. But this is the way you need to write so that the bicycle understands. Okay, now 20 plus 10 is 30. So I get 30 October 2020. Okay, so that's how you are adding date. Now let's say we'll try to do this also. Okay, if I say interval minus 10 day, that means I want to I've used add date function only, but I've manipulated by changing this number. Instead of plus 10, now it is taking minus 10. So it will remove 10 days from this date, and it will give me 10th of October. Okay, let's say if it is already 10th of October. Okay, as you can see, it has now moved to the previous month. So you can very well use this add date function and manipulate to add or remove the data based on the positive or negative number in the interval day parameter. Okay, so this function basically adds a date or time interval to a date and then returns the date. Okay, there are two values that it takes: date, comma, then interval keyword, the value, that how many days you want to add, and then the add unit. Okay, now what do you mean by add unit? Just as I told that there is a definition that it can either add date or it can add some time to it. Okay, and there are various units available in this interval, type of interval to add. Microsecond, second, you can add minutes also, you can add hours, you can add day, week, quarter, year. Okay, or probably if you want to add both minute and second, or second, or hour or minute, then you can do that as well. Let me demonstrate it to you, that how do we do that. Let's say now, since if I want to add some time to my existing timestamp, so I need to first convert this date type to timestamp. Okay, so let me add something here. Let's say 12 12 12. Okay, now let's say I want to add few hours to it. Okay, let's say 3 hour. Okay, now if I do plus here, as you can see, the hourth column, hourth attribute has been upgraded from 12 to 15. That is 3 hours has been added to my timestamp. Okay, similarly I can remove also 3 hours just by adding minus. So as you can see, it has now become 9 12 12 instead of 12 12 12. Okay, Now, if you, let's say, want to add months, you can very well do that. Okay. Let's say instead of hour, I will change this to month. Okay. It has upgraded to 3 months. So if I add 3 months to the October month, it goes to the January month of 2021. So you can see that even my year has changed here and the month has changed. Let's say it is something like this, February. So what happens is, yeah, we get the same year, but May of 2020. Timestamp will remain unchanged because we are simply adding month to it. Also remember that here, whatever unit you are using, they are singular form. Okay, it is not hours, it is not days, it is not months, it is simply month, hour, day. Okay, so remember that. This is just a useful tip because I have made many such syntactical errors before, and that's how I have remembered that it is always the singular form that needs to be added after intervals. Okay, so that was month for you. If you want to demonstrate with hour and second, you can very well do that. Let us try if you want. Yeah, so you can see that it has now added minutes to it. Okay, 12:15. It has converted the increased the time by 3 minutes. Okay, because I have simply passed one parameter here, and that parameter is by default taken for minutes first, and then something. So order will always remain from right to left. If even if I give hour, second, and I give only one parameter here, then the seconds will be updated first, and then my hours will be updated if another value is present. Here, since I have given only one value, that is 3, it will go and upgrade only the minutes first. Okay, it will not upgrade the hour parameter because I have not given any value. So that was the add date function for you, wherein you have manipulated almost the entire date. Okay, you have added something, or you can also subtract something using the same add date function. Okay, so that was it. Next, what we have is add time. So what this does is, this add time functions, similar to add date, we also have add time. In add time function, it adds a time interval to a time or date time and then returns the time or date time value as it is. Okay, now these date time functions are very much manipulative. You can use add date also to add time. You can use add time also to add time. Okay, so even both the functions you can use. Let me demonstrate add time to you. Let's have something like this. Here also it has two parameters. First is the date time value and the next is the add time value. Okay, so what happens is, if I give something like 2020 0 10 20 12 12, and let's say then I add just value like 5 to it. Okay, okay, so now I'll tell you. Now here you are not specifying interval. Okay, there has to be some difference between two functions, right? So in add date function, you gave the interval with by which you want to add it. But in add time, since you are just adding time here, you are simply giving the value in the second argument. Okay, so as you can see, the seconds column, and as I told you that always this date time starts from seconds, that is from the rightmost part to the leftmost part. Okay, always there is an increment in seconds, then my minute increases, and then my hour, and then my date. Getting it? So that's how a date changes. So if I'm giving 5 parameter here, it has simply added that 5 to 12. So I got 17 seconds overall. Okay, now let's say I want to change both seconds and minutes. So I'll specify something like this. Let's say 10 and this. Okay, now you can see what it has done is, it has okay, I've done some mistake. Let me. Okay, got it. If I want to change just minutes and second, hours, minutes and seconds. Okay, wait a minute. This should be fine. Yeah, this is the correct thing. So if I give these three parameters here, okay, 10 is to 5 is to 3. It is not is to, actually, it is just a colon. what it will do is it will add 10 to my first value, then it will add 5 to my second value, and it will add 3 to my third value. Okay, now understand that if there are more than one parameter, then it will start from this part. Okay, now let's say if I remove this off, 12 will be incremented to 22, this 12 will change to 17. Okay, as you can see, this has been updated. That is the format of the add time function. So be very careful while you are using something like this. Okay, that what exactly are you passing as your parameter and what exactly do you want to get updated. Okay, if it is just one parameter, if it is only 5, it will just upgrade the seconds here. Okay, if you are giving more than one, then it will not understand which one you are referring to, so it will start by default from our column. Okay, so as you can see, 12 got updated to 22, this 12 in minutes got updated to 70. Okay, so that was add time function for you. Next we have is since we have also calculated current date, current time, current date functions, we also need to find out that what exactly is the time of our system as of now. So select current time. Okay, I get this is the time 10:48 right now with 29 seconds. If I change it, you can see that the seconds has changed because it is updating every minute, okay, every second. Yeah, so here if I want the current time of my system, then it will give me the format HH-MM-SS in this string format. Okay, now similar to this current time function, we also have cur time. So if I take this part off, I get something like this. Okay, now I can never match these two things together because it takes a lot of time for our execution, and until then the seconds have already changed. Okay, but these both functions are available. Both of them have got the same usage. It returns the current time. That's all. Now again, if you want to see some different format, then you can simply add one to it. You can see that the colon part is removed. Just the way hyphen was removed from date, colon is removed from my time column, time data. Okay, so that was current time for you. Similarly, now thing is that current time has given me the exactly the current time. What if I wish to see the current date and time together? Okay, so for that I have a function called as current timestamp. Okay, when I pass this, I get this value. I get date and time function together. Okay, you can individually check both of them by using cur date function and cur time function. Current timestamp is basically concatenation of both. Okay, so again, if you add +1 to it, you can see that the date is got updated here. That is, the minute has been updated by 1 minute here. So 10, 15 and 18, and hyphen has been removed. So +1 basically changes the format. It gives you a format something like this. If you do +1 here, you'll get this format. If you don't do +1, you'll get this format with hyphen and colon separation. Okay, so that was current timestamp for you. Next, we are dealing with, now we'll start with the date function. Okay, now what does this date function do? Okay, this date function basically just takes the date part from a date time expression. Okay, let me write it. An example for 23, something of the sort. As you can see that it has just, this date function has extracted just the date part from my timestamp value. Okay, whenever there is a date and time together, we will call it as timestamp value. Okay, so from this timestamp value, it has just extracted the date part and returned that to me. You will not see a difference when I just pass date to it. It will give me the same answer. But the only difference is that if this is a string value, it will convert it to data type date and then return that value to me. Okay, that is the main difference between date and date for timestamp value and date for the normal string function. So that is a date for you guys. Now also, since I told you about string, okay, if I write something like this here, sorry, it went somewhere up. If I write some string value here, if you expect that this date function extracts this date value and gives to you, then that is wrong. It will return null. It does not understand anything apart from the formats that has been discussed here. So it can only understand these formats, either timestamp or in the date format, that is YYMM format. Okay, if you give something like this, it will not extract the date value from this sentence. So be very well aware that on which string values do you want to apply the date function. If you have a string like this, first of all you have to use a substring function and then create a column which has only this value 2020 1020, and then apply date function on it to get a data type date for that sentence, for that value. Okay, now let's say I have two dates with me. I have to find the difference between them. Okay, let's say the function for that is date diff. Okay, now I have to pass two values. Let's say 1001, and then I pass 2020. Okay, 1001. Both are the same values. Is there any difference? No, it will return 0. Now let me create a difference for you guys so that you understand. Is there a difference? Yes. You can see there is a difference of 9 days. Now basically understand that the greater value has to come here. It is basically this minus this. Okay. Don't swap it. If you swap it, you will get a negative answer. That is, if you write 0, 1 here, and if you write here 10, then it will give me the negative value. Okay, because what it does is it simply converts this number to a numerical value, this number to a numerical value, and then it subtracts this minus this. So if I do 0 minus 9, I get minus 9. Okay, that's how date diff function operates. Okay, now what happens when if I give timestamp on both the ends? Let's say 23, 23, 23. Okay, I'll take that other option. 23, 23, 23, and then here I have something like 12, 12, 12. Okay, it has still given me the number of days that are away. It has nothing to do with the hours, minutes, and second parameter. So even if you pass timestamp to date diff function, it will simply count the difference between the two dates. It will first extract the date from both the timestamps, and then it will find the difference between them and return the value to me. Okay, that was date diff function for you guys. Now we also we have already seen add date function. Similar to add date, we have date add. Okay, both of them are going to do the same job for you. It will simply return, it will add time or date interval to a date and then return the updated date to you. It is similar to add date function. So add date and date add, both are going to do the same job for you guys. Let me demonstrate date add for you. Let's say I have some value here, 2020 10 10. Okay, and then I'm adding interval. Even the syntax, it will remain the same for both the things. 10 day. Okay. So as you can see, I got a value 20. My 10 days were added to the existing date, that is 10th of October. That is, I get the output 20th of October. So that's how date underscore add function works. In this also we have different units. This date add function takes two parameters. One is the actual date or timestamp, whatever you are passing. Okay, and then the interval value and the unit. If you want to add seconds, minutes, hours to your date, you can do that. There are various units available which we already discussed in add date. Next we will move on to the date format function. Okay, now what happens in this date format is we are basically trying to format a date in the specified way. That means from a date, if I want to extract only the year, I can do that using date format. If I want to extract only the month column, then I can do that. Let us demonstrate that. So if I write something like this, date format, I have, let's say 2020, 10, 20. Then I have percent Y. Okay. Now this is where I was talking about the notations. Capital Y stands for the entire year. So let me give this to you. So I get something like this. Okay. If I have double Y, it will not understand the second Y and it will return something like this. If I convert it to small y, we can see only the 20th part is returned. Now which 20 is returned? Let me create a difference for you. If it is 1920, okay, and I have given small y, so it will simply retrieve this second part, okay, and it will retrieve that value for me. So even in 2020, this 20 was the output of our query. So small y denotes only these two numbers. If it is 2021, then it will like give me the 21 value here. If I give capital Y, then it will give me the 4-letter like YYY format for our output. Okay. Same if I try with capital Y, I'll get 1920 as a whole. So that depends on what format you are looking for. Okay. So we have various different formats. As I've already discussed, that capital Y, it will return year as a numeric with a 4-digit value, and small y will return year as a numeric with 2-digit value. Similarly, let's say if you want to find out the month column, okay, so instead of this, what I'll do is I'll just give capital M. Okay, now you expect that your output will be 10 in this case. It will return me the name. So capital M denotes the name of the month. If I want the number, then I will simply pass small m to it. So I'll get 10 here. Okay. So that is the difference here. If I use capital M, it will give me the name of the month. If I use small m, it will give me the numeric value. Okay. Next, we have in line is the hour function. If you want to find out what is the hour function. So if I, let's say, change it to something like this, 23, 23, 23, and then I change M to, let's say, capital H, it will retrieve 23 and give it to me. Now, we have two formats in hours. One is 0 to 23 and the other one is 1 to 12 format. Okay. So if I convert this to small h, I'll get 11 here, which means that it is 11, but it is PM. Okay. So from 11, you won't understand whether it is PM or AM. That you need to take care of while using this function where you are exactly using it. If it is a 12-hour format, then it is fine. If it is a 24-hour format, then you have to use capital H. Okay. So that is the hour retrieval for you. If you want to retrieve day of the month, then you can use %d, small d again. Okay. You get this 20 here. So it has simply taken off this part and given it to me. Similarly, we have %e also. What happens is %d gives me a numeric value starting from 1 to 31. Okay. %e gives me 0 to 31 value. Similarly, you can check out for more such units. There are around 25 to 30 such units available. You can try it out yourself. Now that was date format function for you. We also have covered date add function before. We will now cover the date sub function. It is exactly opposite of date add function. Okay. So what we will do in date sub function is it will simply subtract a time or date interval from a date and then return the date. Okay. So let's start with demonstration. It is written something like this. Okay. So then let's say I pass some value 10, 20. Then I pass some unit value. Let's say interval 15 minutes. Okay. Now it will, since we are using sub function, okay, and you have given a positive value here, it will simply go and subtract 15 minutes from the time. Okay. As you can see, it has returned me this value. It has simply reduced 15 minutes here because what happened was, what I have passed a date function here and I have given minutes here. So what happens is it first gets converted to something like this. If nothing is mentioned in my date column, then it gets updated to default value, that is 000, and from this if I subtract 15 minutes, this is the value that I get, 23, 45, 45. Okay, so when nothing is mentioned in the column, the default value that I gets updated is 0000. Okay, and then from that 15 minutes were removed. Now let us try something similar with days first. So if I write something, oh, it's not days again, I'm sorry. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is I've used date sub function and I've given a positive value here, okay, which is 2. So it will simply subtract 2 days. Let's say if I want to add 2 days to it, so I have to give minus sign here. Now what will happen is date sub is already negative, then I'm passing -2 to it, so negative of negative will become positive, so it will ultimately add 2 days. So be very sure of what function you are using and what values you are passing is the parameter. We have demonstrated all the possibilities for you. Make sure that you use it correctly. Okay, so that was date sub function for you. And just as we discussed, there are so many units available here. Instead of day, you can pass month, hour, year, whatsoever. Okay, that was date sub function for you. And in our next lecture, we will try to cover all the date functions. There are many more which will be helpful for you to make manipulations to your data, which are of data type date or date time or timestamp. Okay, so thank you from uplats. Let me write it for you. Okay. So thank you from uplats. Stay connected. In next hour, in next lecture, we'll cover more date functions. Thank you.